We begin with our first bout on the card tonight. It is scheduled for three-minute rounds in the featherweight division under MMA rules. Introducing first, fighting out of the short line, Buick and GMC red corner. Please welcome to the cage, Keynan Davis.
Big Mo, there is a man that loves his job. My name is J.R. Gordon. I'm joined by Todd Romero, and we are happy to have sitting between us Dustin Jacoby. Mr. Jacoby is the Sparta heavyweight King of Kings champion. He is a Glory World title contender. He is ranked 27th in the world in the UFC on a great run right now. And we're going to really look forward to having his insight tonight as we have 9 MMA fights, 2 Muay Thai fights, 3 pro boxing fights. That's right, bouncing back and forth between the ring and the cage.
Well, thanks for the introduction, JR. And like you said, man, Big Mo has me fired up for these fights.
Hey, you're in the cage the 28th now of August, right? You just signed that deal?
Yeah, the 28th of August, I'll be facing Darren Stewart in Vegas. So looking forward to get back in there, and hopefully we'll have some fans in attendance, man. It's great to look around and see a crowd here at some fights.
And he's got a teammate fighting tonight for Factory X, so we got to watch that bias, JR, during that fight, make sure that, he's legitimate, that he kind of watches this as a 50-50 fight, right?
Yep, that's exactly, we're going to test your skills tonight.
There it is, the unbiased skills of the Hanyak. JR, listen to AVM 12, man, tonight should be exciting. It's been a long time in coming. Last year, of course, we didn't have it because of the pandemic. It's great to have it back here, and the fans have turned out in earnest tonight.
Great night here in Wyoming. There's a little bit of overcast. It's starting to cool down, so the fighters, you were talking about it, Todd, what it's like fighting the difference between 100-degree weather versus 70-degree weather. Might see these guys having a little more in the gas tank out here tonight because the temperature itself is not draining them. Let's take it back up to Big Mo.
And his opponent, fighting out of the Fowler Chevrolet blue corner. Please welcome Jesse Holcombe.
There it is, Jesse Holcombe making his way to the arena and to the cage. This first fight brought to you by Shortline Buick GMC, 1301 South Havana Street in Aurora, Colorado. So a lot of the sponsors we have to thank tonight that have hung through us through the pandemic. We talked about that in the pre-show, JR. The fact of the matter is that we've had 8 events up here in Wyoming when we were looking for a home. And it's been great to have that run. Hopefully we'll be back in Colorado soon.
What a wonderful place to have landed. They've treated us so well here. The fans are exceptional. However, we do call Colorado home, so it is going to be nice to have some shows back there as well.
And tonight, AVM 12 at the Outlaw here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, getting ready to get rolling. Tom Johnson will be the 3rd man in the ring tonight for this first fight. Amateur 135-pound MMA, 3-minute rounds. Keynan Davis and Jesse Holcombe.
Let's get this party started, fellas.
We'll check out the tail of the tape here. Keynan Davis is the younger at 24 versus the 27-year-old Holcombe. Nearly even in height, with Holcombe having a 1-inch advantage. Of course, they both made weight. A freestyle fighter is Keynan Davis versus the 2-3 MMA fighter of Holcombe. So Holcombe, definitely an experience advantage coming in.
Be interesting to see if that experience pays off tonight. This will be his 6th fight. Sometimes it does. Those are tall. I mean, you're talking at that weight level at 135. They're tall guys.
Yeah, very. Tall, lean, it hits the ground. What you call good jiu-jitsu body. He's got those long limbs to wrap up each other with.
Final look over the fighters now. Gets set to go on a cool, in Colorado, I kind of felt like we were Woodstock. We missed the 70s. It went from 65 degrees to 90 degrees, but tonight come fight night, it's cool out tonight, and we'll see how that progresses for the fighters.
Yeah, and I can tell you as a guy that's fought outside before, man, that heat makes a big difference. And when it's cool like this, you'll see a lot more out of them.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first fight on the prelim card and is brought to you by Arapahoe Kia. As we progress towards our hero ceremony, introducing our main card, where we will have our national anthem performed by rising country music star Sean Curtis. Let's meet our fighters. First, Fighting out of the short line, Buick and GMC red corner. From Denver, Colorado, representing Elevation Fight Team, Keynan, the Future Davis. And his opponent, fighting out of the Fowler Chevrolet blue corner. From Cheyenne, Wyoming, representing Madhouse Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and fighting in honor of U.S. Army member Steven Wurtenberg, Jesse Sticks Holcombe.
Sticks.
So Keynan Davis is wearing the red glove, or the red tape on his gloves. Mr. Jesse Holcombe has the blue gloves. And referee Tom Johnson, he's got the black gloves.
So Jesse Holcombe, the hometown favorite here, being from Cheyenne, Wyoming. We'll see what kind of crowd things he can bring in. Let's see what as we get rolling, JR.
Holcombe trying to up that 2-3 record to the 500 mark. I'm sure he's got a lot of fans in the crowd tonight.
You can already tell right away Holcombe's light on his feet.
A little feeling out process by the fellas.
Yeah, they're ripping some jabs.
Getting settled in and trying to change levels a little bit, get that lower leg kicks going, JR, and kind of see what your opponent's got. Nice left-hand jab.
Yeah, right off the nose, and immediately the nose of Holcombe's starting to redden up a little bit from that jab, and blood coming out, too.
Yeah, some blood coming.
Yeah. We saw that right above the commentary table, and that was solid. It doesn't take much with these 4-ounce gloves, as you can attest to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That was a solid jab, and you can tell he opened up right away.
Holcombe comes from the Madhouse Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school. You can see that jiu-jitsu background by the fact that he jumped guard there in order to get this fight to the ground. Davis able to keep himself upright, so Holcombe, he was already spinning for an armbar, but pinned up against the cage, not able to get the angle that he wants yet.
Sticks is a good nickname, I think, for Jesse Holcombe, because they're long, lean guys, as you said, JR. And you see the slam down to the ground by Keynan Davis, again, trying to get his first victory. Crowd's quiet early on.
Yeah, Holcombe seems very content here. Mostly working a closed guard, so you know that he's not really trying to get his offense going yet, and he's not going to try to work escapes or reversals with that guard being closed. There's nothing that he can do with his hips or his feet. As soon as he opens it up, then look for him to start making the transitions.
Tastes that good left-hander early, so I think right now just trying to get set, trying to get back in control of what he can, already bleeding, as JR had said.
And Keynan Davis gets a little elbow working there, trying to slice his opponent up a little bit.
There we go, now he's working.
Jackhammer in the hands, but that's given Holcombe a chance to start to spin off the bottom. Davis, wise to it, extricates himself from the situation.
And Keynan Davis, you know, coming from that Elevation Fight Team, you know that during the week, during the preparation for this, he's a great left kick.
Oh, and follows up nicely with the hands, does Keynan Davis.
Davis trying to end this quickly, but Elevation Fight Team, you're going to get somebody helping you every week. Got a long stable of fighters there.
Oh, and just going to work with a prolonged combination.
You got to do something here if you're going to stay in this fight. If you're Holcombe, you got to return something. Show that you're in this fight.
Beautiful boxing work by Davis right there.
Heard the 10-second clash. Let's see if Holcombe can hang on. Just a couple of seconds left here.
Big time knee to the solar plexus, completely took Holcombe down. And that really, you saw that as soon as it happened, Dustin, and those body shots can really wear on you.
That was a huge first round for Davis. He finished strong. Holcombe appears to be hurt a little bit.
Yeah, for Keynan Davis, that's possibly a 10-8 round. Knockdown, solid ground and pound, has his opponent bloodied up. Somewhat the judges look for if they're going to give it that big of a variance between the two fighters.
And I thought if that round would have any more time left in it, guys, they probably would have called it, because it didn't look like Holcombe wanted any more once he took that knee to the solar plexus. And you've ever had that before. You get the wind knocked out of you like that, not a whole lot else matters.
Checking out the end of the fight here. This is after Holcombe had been knocked down. No, my mistake. This is when he came back up after having jumped guard. He was down for a prolonged time, with Keynan Davis able to control position throughout almost the entirety of that round. And even when he wasn't, he was going to work with his hands.
5 or 6 uppercuts followed that left kick, and he kept busy the entire time. And right now, Holcombe trying to figure out something to change the momentum of this fight.
Looks like the corner got the bleeding stopped from the nose of Holcombe. Good work over there.
Stop the bleeding.
Taking care of their fighters.
Look at the confidence coming out that you have from Davis, though. You can just see it in his face. He's confident, he's focused.
Yeah, Holcombe's still snapping that jab out there. I think he's still in it right now.
Ooh.
That knee almost connected.
Yeah, it did. Holcombe was able to dodge it to be able to try to grab on to get a takedown. Unable to do so up against the cage right now, but just a couple of inches away from missing was that first kick. Holcombe able to tie Davis up and put him against the cage, and that's the only place that Davis hasn't been able to inflict some damage.
A little bit of a battle for hand position here. Both guys have their heads pretty even. So it becomes a battle of who can get their arm where they want it to be in order to try to turn the other fighter off the cage.
Dustin, when you get into the position right here up against the cage like that, how tough is it to make sure that those knees are above the belt?
Well, and for one, it's very tiring when you're tied up right there. But yeah, when you throw the knees, man, you got to make sure they're above the belt. And you see that a lot, you know, these low blows, and it stops the fight. And you know, fighters take advantage of that 5 minutes that they get. Great knees right now from Davis, man. He's really showing some good work.
Yeah, Davis is kind of showing every bit of level, JR, in a lot of different attacks, whether it's with his hands, kicking, or the knees.
Very well-rounded game, and of course you expect that out of an elevation fight team fighter. And speaking of knees here in the amateur division, you're not allowed to knee to the head either, so it really shortens up that target that you have. Basically, you know, shoulders to hips is where you're allowed to go.
Yep. Holcombe applying the pressure here, but he's not really doing much with it.
Yeah, he's wrapping up the single, just not able to run the pipe. Davis threatening with the Kimura grip.
And for Holcombe, you know, that's a lot of energy trying to get that one, like trying to get that takedown. You're burning it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, and he was on the receiving end of that punishment at the end of round one. You talked about it in the pre-fight interview. Absorbing punishment really drains that lifeline. So spending all this energy trying to get the takedown, it's definitely probably draining as much out of Holcombe as it is out of Davis.
Yeah, at some point in time, where that point is where you kind of give up on that and back up, every fighter's got to do that differently.
Yeah, it's all about, yeah, you see here with Davis getting the knees in there. But Holcomb's not giving up. He's still trying for that takedown. If he can get his shoulder, apply some shoulder pressure and run the pipe, I think he can get him down. But Davis appears to be pretty tough to take down.
Yeah, Davis threw one knee that landed well, and Holcombe underhooked it and went right back to trying for the takedown. 10 seconds left, so a much more even round two than round one was.
Yeah, and I think he needed to do that. Holcombe was in trouble, and when it's from a distance, he's in a lot of trouble there. When it's close in, JR, he has a little bit more of an advantage there, a little bit more even of a fight.
Nice head kick thrown up by Davis right at the very end of the round there.
Yeah, he also got a good knee to the body on Holcombe there at the end, and I think affected him a little bit. Kind of hunched over like he
yeah,
one, so.
Yeah, it took a couple steps back.
Holcombe did a good job of applying the pressure on the cage there, but I'm not sure who won that round. You know, there wasn't much damage. He didn't do much with it, and I still believe Davis is up in this fight.
Davis for sure won that first round, whether it scored a 10-8 JR or not, as you see some of the action up against the cage. And the one thing, JR, look at when you look at these fights transpire, Davis was 0-1. So what do you expect? What are you trying to do when you get in the cage? And all of a sudden, when things start going well from you, that confidence is created. Despite the fact that your opponent has 5 fights, you're kind of feeling good about what you're doing, and you saw that carry out throughout the first round.
We saw right there, that was the very end of the fight. You talked about that knee, Dustin, and that showed it right there. Holcombe was backpedaling at the end of the round.
That's the second one he caught. At the end of the first round, he caught one. Into the second round, he caught one, JR. Astute.
And as close as that round was, that might have been the deciding factor in the round, was those final 3 or 4 seconds.
Wow, Davis comes right back to the knee again.
Yeah, I'd like to see Davis get after it here and maybe try to finish this fight.
You know what I like about it, is the chamber. And what I mean by the chamber is how high you're able to get your pivot and your joints and how he kicks.
Nice question mark kick there by Davis.
Yeah, and he set it up with the low kick, so that was a great job. And he's still flinging that jab and the low kicks, man. He's looking sharp. There we go, a little hip feint. You like to see that out of the fighters after throwing some leg kicks. It's all about making deposits, man.
Seeing how the opponent's going to react, knowing what you might be planning for the next time you throw that technique.
Making some deposits.
We all like that.
Oh, big overhand right.
Oh, he got him too.
Oh, and a slapping body kick.
Yeah, Holcombe almost
man.
leaned into that. Yeah.
He's taken some damage. He's absorbed some shots, and you know he's still going strong himself.
Good head positioning here.
Yeah, it speaks well of the conditioning of Holcombe to be able to take this punishment and come back and keep answering.
Yeah,
You didn't. Go ahead, Dustin.
Davis is doing a great job of controlling Holcomb's hand right there, so he can't really get off any shots and then throwing shots of his own. So he's pretty good with his cage defense.
And Jared, listen, when you're fighting in your own backyard, like Holcombe is, despite he looks so tired after the first round, he's really gutted it up.
Yeah, definitely a little added incentive knowing that there's a lot of eyes on the crowd watching you specifically, or maybe being in the crowd just because you're the one that's here.
Holcombe with that good head positioning right now, but trying to do something with it because, again, Davis has had most of the blows in this fight, the damaging, telling blows.
Yeah, a bit of a stall right here against the cage. There's just enough action that the referee's not going to break him up because the guys are working for position and they are working their knee strikes, but nobody really pulling forward significantly here in the third.
Under a minute to go, and you know, Dustin, when you get to these types of fight, you never know what the judges are thinking. And as a fighter in there, your last fight was a draw. You know how frustrating it can be.
Yeah, you never know what they're going to do. I'd like to see Davis get off this wall and finish strong here. He's still delivering some strong knees, but he's just getting pinned up against the cage. He's doing a great job of avoiding any serious damage, but I'd like to see him get off there and work for the finish.
Oh, solid knees being thrown by Holcombe here.
You know, if they give Holcombe this round, this fight's up in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you don't know what the judges saw in round two. Holcombe had him pinned against the cage, you know, majority of the round. So it'll be interesting to see. You got 10 seconds here.
Got that control time, JR. I mean, and then again, JR, this is what you learn as a young fighter, how to finish that fight, how to get to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin mentioned it. I'd like to see Davis come out, try to put an end to the fight. He didn't do it. Now we're left wondering, how does somebody else see it, and how's that going to affect the ride home?
And not to mention, we're in Cheyenne. We're in Holcomb's hometown, so you don't know if that plays a factor as well.
You look at the second and third rounds, JR, very close rounds. I think there's no doubt, all three of us thought that Davis won that first round, and he did so handily. But those last two rounds were close. Little cool breeze blowing in as we saw a majority of what the third round was. A lot of, you know, control time by Holcombe as he had Davis up against the cage. Davis got a lot of his licks in that opening round. He had a shot, and JR, depends how they close. You talked about that shot at the end of the second round that was a knee, probably the most telling blow. How did they see that?
Yeah, every coach screams at you from day one, finish the round strong. You need to be moving your hands or moving your feet at the end of the round trying to score, and that's exactly why. That could have been the telling point in that round, which in and of itself could have been the turning point in the fight as far as how the judges see it. So good work by Davis, obviously very well coached, and Holcombe up here, like we talked about, trying to up his record to 500 and see how that goes, because it looks like Big Mo has the word.
Be interesting. I'm kind of leaning 29-28. Davis is kind of where my thought process is.
Yeah, one thing for sure, one of these guys is going to be upset.
You got to leave it on the line, that's for sure. And I think Davis did in the first round.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 full rounds, we go to your judges' scorecard for the official decision. Our first and second judge scored about 30-26, while our third judge scores about 30-27, declaring your winner by unanimous decision, Keynan, the Future Davis.
Well, JR, you were right about the 10-8 round in the first one because he got that 10-8 round and he won the other rounds on the judges' scorecard as close as they were. But that first round was definitely what he needed as far as a jump start.
Goes by the nickname of the Future, and Future's looking bright for Mr. Davis. Going to have a nice ride home back to Colorado and ups his record to the 500 mark. Now at 1-1.
Yeah, gets his first victory inside the cage, man. I'm happy for him.
Look at Big Mo doing double duty up there. Not only is he announcing it, he's taking pictures for the fighters.
Wonder if Bruce Buffer does that.
$5 a pop, right? Fight number 1 of AVM is in the books. It goes the distance. Bout 1 at 135 pounds.